Welcome to Intuitive Human. Our mission is to normalize intuitive experiences for humanity. We're connecting with people just like you, excavating their highly impactful, view-shifting, intuitive experiences, diving deeply into what it actually feels like when you go beyond the veil. In this interview, Marlene Menendez shares a powerful somatic healing plus inner visions, where she describes unearthing a route to trauma and walking through synchronous doors that changed her life. We hope you see your own reflection in these stories, empirically proving intuition really does exist, and in such a way so that you may discover your own intuitive human.
My name is Marlene Menendez, and my occupation is I'm a modern mystic. I'm a yoga instructor. I am a licensed massage therapist. I am 44 years old now, but when I first started feeling, energy or what that was, I would say I was about 19, 20.
Okay. And what does modern mystic mean?
That's a term I gave myself to encompass all the things I do, because it's a little hard to come up with one name. But I am very much into mystical arts, and I have a shamanic background. I am a healer, a Reiki healer. It's a term that I've come up with to see if I can coin, because I don't know what to call myself, honestly.
Right.
You know, going about my daily life as a massage student in about 1998, and it was here in Miami, Florida. Most of my experiences have happened here at home. I'm born and raised in Miami with a Cuban descent. Most of my intuitive experiences have happened at home, or, you know, doing something around the city or connecting with people. I wasn't in the Himalayas.
Right, exactly.
And I wasn't in a monastery or anything like that. I was just kind of living my life and figuring out who I was. Crystal, I feel like in some way I was always being prepared, but I see that now in retrospect. But yes, to answer your question, I feel like I was being prepared through the different relationships that I was having in my life and the experiences that I was having within those relationships, and finding myself and who I was in those relationships. I find that that was a huge mirror for me.
When you were in the healthcare and it wasn't quite right, and then you moved into massage, which was closer, and then feeling a different initiation once you're 18 years and, you know, there's something else, I'm ready for something else now. And then finding your way to this school of shamanism, and then going deep into that space and really doing the shadow work and unveiling. What kind of experiences did you have that would be more of the highly impactful, view shifting, undeniable, you can't turn back from that experience that happened when you went through that program?
So many of them happen, Crystal. One, it comes to mind because of how I had a physical reaction to my healing. And that was the first time that I had ever felt something like that. In my first year of mystery school, I did an assignment or a task where we had been asked to write a story about our lives and the things that were pivotal positively or negatively in our life, and kind of write that out and then create a form of art that expresses that. So I was working through that task, and when I got to 8 years old in my story, I had my body completely shut down, and I fell asleep on my chair. I went to bed later that night, and I woke up and I was physically purging bile for a few hours that morning. Later in a call with my mentor that day, she pointed out to me, I thought I had a virus or I had a flu. And she pointed out to me that she thinks I was having an energetic purge or an energetic release. That to tell her what went on between 8 and on. And when I was verbally sharing those experiences with her, they were I started realizing that that was a quite traumatic time in my life. That's when everything changed in my childhood. My parents got a divorce. We moved from house to house to house. I moved from school to school to school. I was also diagnosed with scoliosis when I was 10.
Okay.
And had to have major surgery when I was 11 because it was progressing so quickly. So, and then I also became a woman per se, and had my menstrual cycle for the first time the day after I had surgery.
Okay.
And that was kind of confusing.
Yes. And then what is the shutdown as it kind of happened for you, just so we can share it with people who might not know what shutdown means? Was it lethargy, tired, can't focus, dizzy, or what was your experience?
Literally, I fell asleep.
Just like that.
I don't know. One moment I was writing on the computer, and the next moment I was being woken up at 3:00 in the morning by my partner so I can go to bed. It almost felt like if I wasn't ready for what I was about to write, and I just shut down.
How would you say the nervous system sensitivity might be related to your now sensitivity, or even then sensitivity? Because I feel like we haven't shared it totally yet with the world, but we have some ideas about the sheathing, if we can call it that, the protective layers on the nervous system. And when a nervous system is consistently dysregulated, it becomes antenna for the world. And those of us who have had more dysregulation for whatever the reason is, surgery, scoliosis, seizures, just consistent trauma in our lives, whatever it is, that we become these antennas to pick up on a lot of information kind of all the time. And we do become those highly sensitive beings. So it just has me curious about this aspect of you, and if you can see any correlation or not.
Yes, I actually do see a correlation now. I wouldn't say that while I was going through the process, I was connecting all the dots. But I do see that later on in life, in certain initiation processes that I've been through, the importance of the physical body, the vessel, and how we hold information in ourselves. So it's almost like another way of receiving information for me.
Okay.
You know, I think that having that experience in my life made me more sensitive in my body to energetics.
Okay.
And I only made that correlation after some of my shamanic training and some messages that I had received from my guides and my source.
Okay.
In relation to why that experience happened to me and why it was an important part of my journey. I always looked at it as something that was a burden. And later on, more recently, I'm noticing that is one of my strengths.
Right. And the greatest weakness is our greatest strength. No?
Exactly.
So then back to your story of the exercise that we're talking about in the shaman school, and then finding with the mentor that, wow, I did have some stuff I had to go through. Tell us a little bit more about how that landed and how it ended up once you kind of discovered these moments in your life that were sort of bumpy and traumatic and in the block, as it were.
I would say that I was overcome with an immense amount of compassion for myself. I gave myself a big break when I realized that. And it was almost like, you know, you're really being hard on yourself. So it really like made an impact on the self-critic is what I call it. How that I heard that negative self-talk a lot louder, and I was a lot more aware of it.
I see.
So it gave me a permission, I would say, to give myself a big break. And then I moved through that task very slowly. I took my time to finish that. And then I ended up painting a vine, and the vine was wrapped with leaves, and each leaf was a negative or a positive experience that really changed the course of my life. And I felt an immense amount of healing when I was done with that piece of art. through creativity, which I never thought I could do, by the way, I felt this freedom. And I had a physical manifestation now to remind me of that badge of honor and that compassion that I have for myself as a reminder. I mean, I can hang it up on my wall. I can put it on my altar. I can burn it. I can do whatever I want, but now it's here.
Right.
And I'm holding it.
And when you say you felt a great amount of healing, what does that mean?
Peace, loving myself just a little bit more, giving myself permission to actually have the feelings that I have without calling myself a big sap or like a weakling, knowing that there's strength in adversity, because I believe that the things that I went through in that time in my life really helped me survive the next phase that came in my life.
Right.
You know, and it's almost like having an awareness that there is a divine thing that's kind of hanging out with you throughout this life.
A divine thing. I like that. There's something.
There's something hanging out with you and, you know, whispering in your ear.
Yes.
And kind of, I don't know, really enveloping you in that unconditional love, you know, and it might look chaotic, but when you really tap into that, you really see the gems in all of that adversity. So it was I had a little more strength.
Right.
It was almost like I gained a little more tolerance to those that I came in contact with and what their story was.
Right. Yeah, we have a hashtag here at Intuitive Human. Have you seen it?
No, tell me.
It's IH Vulnerable AF.
Oh,
we won't say on camera what the F stands for.
But we all know.
But we all know. It's like, we can show you the territory. And that's also what we're trying to do here, is to show humanity the territory that's available in discovering self-compassion or self-love or, you know, any of these grand things like purity and joy and bliss and all these things. And it's not without the shadow. It's like through the shadow that we get there.
Yes.
And that in this grand territory, we have our own individual maps. And then by recognizing our own capacities for self-compassion, no matter what age or in what shape or color or anything comes, that now we can see it in the others. Now we have our own map. And by reflecting that, by living that, by being that in the world with all the people you interact with, because it's a part of your field now, then they will be reflected in. And then they might be able to find their own maps. So that's what we're trying to do here, is show people the territory so they can find their own map.
Absolutely. Be that reflection, right?
Yeah. Be the topographers.
Yes.
Of
I love that.
Of our intuitive lives.
And I did see it within my own experience, how it affected others around me, that now tell me, watching you go through your experience allowed me to step into mine. And that's
exactly
powerful.
Like my whole body is lit up with that, because it's like you're modeling and permissioning the field to be able to grow and find itself. How has your life changed now?
It was a very deep journey. You know, I did see changes within my immediate family. I saw changes within my friend circle. A lot of them did drop. And I feel it was just a vibrational match. Like your vibration shifts and you can't bring everybody along with you.
Right.
And even the ones that thought that they were going to come along for the ride, like we all awakened together.
Right.
You know, even those have dropped off in some way, because really this is a very personal journey.
Yes.
So I did see a lot of those mini miracles. Also with having more faith in the universe, that it has my back. In terms of finances, in terms of money, you know, how freaking out about money does us no good. How I was giving every dollar away attached with a thought of scarcity. And I remember having the exact moment in my patio where I decided I wasn't going to worry about money anymore. Like I was just not going to do this to myself. And every time I would see myself in the red, I would say, well, something's going to happen. And, you know, I might be overly optimistic, but this is the way I brought myself into balance.
Right.
And sure enough, a miracle would come through. Very good. Somebody would lend me the money.
Yes.
Somebody would come through with some kind of payment they owed me.
Yes.
Even other crazier magical things like finding that my mortgage payment was paid. And I have to this day no idea how that month got paid.
Right.
But accepting these gifts.
Yes.
Not thinking that I am not worthy of them. So it was a long journey of so many of these different changes.
Sure.
To the point where what I'm doing now came intuitively to my life. Mm-hmm. And if I wouldn't have had the trust to follow my intuition,
yes,
I wouldn't be where I am right now.
So let's talk about how it came to be that yoga came into your life and the direction that it took you in.
So I remember one time I went to my best friend's house and she had an oracle, cards of Archangel Raphael.
Okay.
And I went in and I just randomly picked a card and it said, in your future, you will be a yoga instructor. And I remember laughing. And I said, this is so off.
Right.
Never, ever did I ever imagine I was going to be a yoga instructor.
And how old were you when that happened?
I would say that was like in 2014 or 2015. Like
okay.
I was 39 or something.
Okay.
And I just kept going in my life, and I closed my massage therapy business.
Okay.
I had answered the call.
Yes.
And I sold it to my business partner at the time.
Okay.
And I was kind of in this space where I didn't know what I was going to do. So I ended up taking a random job for a stable paycheck. And I was helping create some art in the administrative sense, helping with orders, things like that. I was in a random warehouse. I decided that I was going to start chanting every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 a.m.
Okay.
Because I was going through a time where I was in limbo and I needed something to keep me centered.
Yes.
You know, I had left the corporate world quite some time ago and I wasn't ready to go back there, but I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do. Mm-hmm. So I had learned how to chant the seed sounds of each chakra,
okay.
the 7 major chakras.
Right.
And I decided that a friend and I are going to do this every Tuesday, mm-hmm. Thursday at 6 a.m. And we were going to start at the root.
Right.
And during these chanting sessions, I started getting visions of the yoga studio where I practiced.
Okay.
And I wasn't exactly sure why I was seeing the rooms, the front desk, one of my teachers.
And you're just seeing them like they're like photographs that just pop up in your vision while you're doing the chants?
Some of them had movement.
Okay.
Some of them were just flashes of scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them had movement. I would see myself practicing in the room.
Kind of like a movie or something?
Yes, like a movie.
And were your eyes closed or open?
Closed.
Okay. And so it's kind of like an imagination, but also some photograph feeling, and then movie kind of feeling that had motion. So still photographs and then some with motion.
Yes.
But not like a holograph because your eyes are closed.
Right, exactly.
It wasn't like laying on top of reality. It was just like black scene, movie, pictures, images still. Okay.
And almost like flashes.
Okay.
They would come in and out.
Okay.
Mostly when I would lose myself in the chant, when I would reach that place, mm-hmm. then they would start coming in.
I see.
At first I didn't pay a lot of attention to it, but the frequency that it kept happening made me curious. Coincidentally, during that time, I received a promotion from the studio of an intensive that I wanted to do with this particular teacher.
Okay. So
I said, oh, that's it. I'm supposed to do the intensive. That's right. I've been meaning to do this.
Okay.
So I went and I did it.
Okay.
And after the intensive was done, she invited me to go to the yoga school to become a yoga instructor. Mm-hmm. And I got some more information about that. And after some thinking and some debating, I called the yoga studio and said that it wasn't the right time for me. It just didn't feel financially right to invest $3,000 into something due to the situation that I was in my life at that time. So with a heavy heart, I said no. And the very next day, I walked into my part-time job and the entire room was full of flies.
Okay.
There was a swarm of flies.
Okay.
And I freaked out and I asked my neighbors to help me. And finally, the room was finally cleared. I looked everywhere to see if there was anything that had died. We called the leasing office to come and check it out.
Okay.
But really, after the whole thing happened, I had no idea what was causing this.
Right.
So I kind of just sat back and decided to have my cup of coffee.
Yeah. What's the flies
and
about?
arrive to the room.
Yeah.
And as I opened my social media on my phone, there was an ad for the yoga studio that needed a receptionist part-time. I knew that it probably wasn't going to pay very much, but I wasn't driving with the situation that was happening at this warehouse.
Right.
And I was like, well, this is a part-time job. That's a part-time job.
Right.
You know, and I called right away. And 2 days later, I got the job. So here I am having a conversation about becoming a yoga instructor. And 2 days later, I'm hired in the administration of the yoga studio. So I said, you know, you should take this. There was something telling me that, you know, it wasn't like I was going to make $1 million, but something was there. So I accepted the job and I worked 2 jobs for a while until I finally transferred over to the yoga studio.
Okay.
And just kind of kept going in my life. And next year came along and all the doors opened for me to become a yoga instructor.
What?
Again, it was one of those things where here goes.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to ever teach.
Bravely stepping into the unknown, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if I wanted to teach. I know that I'm an eternal student.
Yeah.
So I love to learn, and especially when it has to do with spirituality and philosophy.
Right.
So I was intrigued because the practice in itself had helped me so much in my journey with scoliosis.
Yes, exactly.
You know, through yoga was where I found healing in my pain. So I just jumped in and I had no idea what I was doing.
Right.
But all the doors opened and it just felt right.
And so then from how long from the tarot reading that said you're going to be a yoga teacher to this moment in time when all the doors flew open and you walked through them bravely? 2
years. It seems to be my mark.
Right. 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Everything always takes me 2 years to figure out.
Yeah, I can relate with that.
Now I'm still with the yoga studio.
Okay.
I do tarot readings out of the yoga studio. I do holistic healing out of the yoga studio. I teach candlelight yoga twice a week.
Okay.
I still work in the administration.
Okay.
And I also teach the new yogis in training the chakra system and the energetic anatomy.
So nice.
Yes.
Look at you doing it.
It just all opened up.
That's so beautiful.
It just really did. And there was no rational thought to any of it.
Right.
FYI.
Yeah. When you're listening to the whispers that matter indeed. So let me ask you the final question of our time here today, which is, do you feel like these kinds of intuitive experiences are reserved for only special magical people, or does anybody have them, or everybody have them?
Everybody has them. It is a matter of a lot of things, I think. I think it's a matter of, did you come in this life this time to wake up? Or did you come here to hold space for everyone else that was going to wake up? Because I'm a believer of not just one life. So we all get different roles in different lives, and it makes up this this energy of that oversoul, right? That we all have, that higher self, right? Also, I feel that if you're willing to step through the door, if you're willing to step into that power, then you can gain the access to all these intuitive gifts. I feel that to a certain extent, not everyone's just going to have them just like that, because it could turn into anarchy. It could turn into an irresponsibility of using these gifts.
Or they're overwhelmed, no?
Right, an overwhelming experience, not knowing. I feel that there needs to be some self-development work. I feel that there needs to be some kind of initiation process.
Yes.
That gets you ready to then receive those gifts that you already had.
Right. And the beauty in it is that there are mystery schools.
Yes.
There are communities. Mentors. There are mentors. There are spiritual guides. Shamans. There are people who are out here. And that's what we're doing too, is creating this community to say, hey, we exist. There's support. There's help. And, you know, as unique as you are in the experiences that you're having, that you're not alone.
Yes.
And so find the mentor, explore the mystery schools, and you know, be open to developing that like subtle awareness muscle, if you will.
Yes, because even like in my own story, it wasn't until I created that support system with those people that I was going to do work with, and I developed my trust to actually let them into my life.
Yes.
Is when I actually started to create the foundation, or what we call in my clan your spirit lodge. That form or that foundation that you need to then take off from there.
Yes.
And I can't tell you the immense amount of help that it was to have that support system around you.
Absolutely.
It's one of the key things. Find community.
Right. Definitely. Well, thank you very much. It was such a pleasure and a joy to hear how it works for you.
Thank you.
And we will be airing this episode, and just appreciate the ability to share your story with other folks who hopefully will be able to see their reflection or pieces of themselves reflected too.
Thank you, Crystal.
So
and thank you for doing this. This is really special work. Thanks for creating this platform for us.
You're welcome.
Because there's more of us out here now, and
yes,
and we really should be heard.
Yes.
So thanks, Crystal.
Thank you.
Awesome.